The final score, Wrexham 2, Woking 0. This was a very satisfying win. Solid, and a continuation of what we've seen over this unbeaten run, which now stretches to 6 games, and that's the longest run that we've enjoyed without defeat all season, and it's also equally the longest run that anyone in the National League is currently on. So very pleasing. Wrexham go up into the playoff places in 6th place, and they're only 2 points off 2nd place. Or was it 4? Oh, I can't remember. It's close. That's the key thing. Look, that's why I've got that table down there. So check it out. Fact check me as I go along. So, Wrexham against Woking, one change, an enforced change. Jay Harris had a slight knock, doesn't sound too serious, but he wasn't risked. So Dan Jarvis came in his place, and Jarvis has done well in this 3-man midfield setup anyway, and so it was always going to be interesting to see how he did. Well, he and Jordan Davis played a key role in this performance in midfield in terms of their use of the ball. Woking, right, okay, before this game, 1 win in 9 in the league, but they had, in the last match, enjoyed an excellent away win at Sutton in the trophy. They made one change, weird coincidence, they brought in a Jarvis as well, Matt Jarvis, in place of Malachi Napper, which feels slightly surprising because Napper scored an unbelievable goal to win that game at Sutton, an overhead kick from the left side of the box. And the opening stages were interesting. Wrexham started well, but, and I think frankly until late in the half, you could probably say that this was like an awful lot of first halves Wrexham played at home this season. Nice football, you feel pleased, you feel that there's progress, that they're getting somewhere, but we weren't actually threatening much. Woking looked more threatening when coming forwards, and they had the first chance of the game, 6th minute, a corner played into the near post, and Diarra, the massive centre-back, got up, but glanced it across the face of goal, couldn't get it on target. I say Woking looked more threatening. Threatening's the wrong word, but they certainly were winning a lot of set plays, and they had 3 big men at the back, because Cook, the right back, is built like a big centre back, and they were getting their heads to a lot of those set piece deliveries, which was of concern. Wrexham were more dominant, but we're finding it tricky to break Woking down. Woking's best moment in open play came in the 20th minute when a neat little ball down the right channel threatened to send Kane Ferdinand clear on goal. He was denied by an excellent tackle by Fika Kelleher. Wrexham then broke swiftly up the other end, and again it was excellent defending to rescue Woking. This time Record on the left flank, drilling in a flat cross into the 6-yard box. Angus was attacking it with intent, and Cook did well as near post to lunge towards goal and poke the ball behind. So Wrexham were looking nice, the midfield was looking tidy, Davis and Jarvis were using the ball well. Hall Johnson in particular was getting up the flank. There's not much going on the left flank, but on the right Wrexham were combining nicely. Jarvis and Angus and Hall Johnson working little triangles, finding space for crosses. It was all very nice, it looked good, but we weren't really threatening until 3 minutes before the end of the half. We suddenly started to work them. It began with a free kick right of centre, about 20 yards out. Jordan Davis stepped up, ripped it left-footed. It took a huge deflection, and the goalkeeper Ross made a brilliant save. The deflection sent it spearing in a different direction, and he did brilliantly to acrobatically change his direction and thrust his hand up and managed to tip it over the bar before he toppled over and it went in. A magnificent save. And then there was danger from another free kick, this time on the right flank. Jamie Record taking it, sweeping it into the goalmouth. Kwame Thomas caused a scramble, the ball bounced loose, fell to Jordan Davis around the penalty spot sort of area, but on his right foot, and he took a bit of a swing at it and sliced it so badly that, whisper it went for a throw-in. It was a half chance, to be fair. The next half chance though went in, a fine goal just as the added time was beginning. And Reece Hall Johnson deserves an enormous pat on the back for his work here. Deep in his own half, he slid in full stretch to win a marvellous sliding tackle when Lofthouse, the left wing back, had got beyond him. The ball fell to Dan Jarvis, and massive credit to Jarvis. Jarvis was recognised that it was Hall Johnson who was the big outball, who was the big threat, and with Lofthouse, the left back, stranded at the pitch. He was a chance to break. So Jarvis was very calm in possession. He carried it forwards, but he was clearly waiting for Hull Johnson to get up from that great tackle and start to go through the gears and come on the outside of him. Once he was available, Jarvis played him into that space. Hull Johnson quite simply just accelerated in the straight line magnificently and then drilled the ball into the near post, where Dior Angus finished his first goal for Wrexham, and a superb finish as well. 8 yards out, first time, side foot, bang in the bottom right corner. And when you look at it, you'll see that the defender looks like he's going to get there first, and Angus has to stretch to get around him and still guide that ball in using the pace of the cross. A superb finish by Angus, and Wrexham had the lead. And I know I'm going to sound naive in saying this, but goals change games, and what looked like a sort of promising first half, which this season has tended to fritter out into nothing, suddenly became a promising first half, which brought us a lead. And we continued in that manner after Woking actually started quite strongly in the opening stages of the second half, and could have got a controversial equaliser quite early on as well. The ball played in towards the edge of the area, Wareham flicked it on, and Matt Jarvis, was one-on-one all on his own in the penalty area. He looked a long way offside. I don't know whether the referee and linesman judged that it came off a defender as Wareham was tackled. But anyway, Jarvis with a golden opportunity. I don't think he expected to see it coming through to him. He hit it fast and hard first time and two straight. And Dibble, as he tends to, was very quick off his line and made a good block. Not the last time Dibble would do good work in the second half. Although he'd have to wait quite a long time until he was tested again. Wrexham started to take control and started to cause problems. Angus had a shout for a penalty against Diarra, which was a little bit hopeful. Then another nice little build-up. So Record sweeping the cross after a good tackle by Jordan Davis. Kwame Thomas lunging at it, full stretch to try and plant a heroic diving header in, was denied by a high boot that put it behind for a corner. High enough to be a foul? Wrexham didn't ask for it, to be fair. I suppose Eastleigh didn't ask for that penalty for a high foot a couple of weeks ago, did they? I'm not saying it's a penalty, by the way, but I am saying that we had an incredible referee at Eastleigh who gave one for a similar thing. But Wrexham continued to cause problems. Record sweeping in a corner to the near post. Jordan Davis making that Jay Harris run to the near post and meeting it with a really good back header, flicking it on over everybody and just wide of the far post. Within a minute, Wrexham again putting pressure on, but this time, well, Jarvis, who was really looking good and pulling the strings at the early stages of the second half, meeting the ball 30 yards out on the volley with a fabulous strike, and again Ross excelled himself, lunging to his left and just managing to push it round the post. Incredible technique from Jarvis. If that had gone in, Luke Young might have actually been struggling to win the goal of the season this season. From the corner, right, I haven't had a chance to look back at this. Something may have happened. I'm not sure. There was a big shout from the Wrexham players. The corner was flicked on again at the near post into the goal mouth and went behind. It might have just been vehemently calling for a corner. It did seem a bit more than just that, so I'm not sure whether they were trying to claim it hit a hand or not. I'm not sure. But anyway, 3 minutes later, it didn't really matter as Wrexham took the lead. And I've got to say, the first goal was magnificent. So the breakaway, the great work by Hull Johnson. The second one's a penalty, but the move that set up the penalty was deeply pleasing for me. Maybe the best passage of play that Wrexham have shown this season. It started off with Jarvis holding the ball up well and feeding it on to Angus. Angus, so intelligent, carried it forwards, waited for Thomas's run, slid a perfect ball in to put Thomas one-on-one with the keeper. He went around Ross, who dived at his feet and took his legs from under him. Ross got the yellow card. The ref pointed to the spot. It could maybe have been a red if the referee was being uncharitable, because it was a pullback, not a tackle, and Thomas was going to get round him and tap it into an empty net. But anyway, Luke Young stepped up and drilled it home, his fifth goal of the season, and Wrexham had 2-0 up. 20 minutes left, Jarvis went off. I can only assume through exhaustion, because, to be honest, he'd had an excellent game, and particularly in the second half. And on came Elliot Durrell. And Wrexham at first continued to pressure. Durrell would have a strange sort of time. He was involved in a couple of odd incidents. This was the first. Hall Johnson from distance drilling the ball, a really fabulous contact, but it was blocked by Durrell. He just didn't have a chance to get out of the way in time. Hall Johnson's reaction suggested that he thought he'd put in a contender for goal of the season. But it was blocked quite a long way out from goal. It fell to Wrexham, and Hall Johnson was played in again, and he hit a lovely driven cross right across the face of goal. Thomas lunged in, couldn't quite make contact. French up at the far post lunged in, and he couldn't make contact either. We got into the last 10 minutes, Wrexham looking in the comfort zone, and I've got to say, we'd already seen, and would continue to see, that Wrexham had learned the lesson of that Dagenham match, which was won only for Wrexham to dig in, defend too deep, invite pressure, and pay the price with a 95th minute equaliser, because Wrexham, this time, it was really clear, were consciously trying not to drop too deep, were consciously trying to keep a pretty high line despite the pressure, and they defended well. Woking did have opportunities, and Dibble would look sharp. Firstly, it was a free kick into the box, which was half cleared, and Lozu looked decent coming on as a sub, drove it in from 20 yards. It took a deflection, but it wasn't a deflection which troubled Dibble, who went down to his left to take the ball in cleanly and hold on to it pretty close to his body. Then with 5 minutes left, it was opportunity for Kretschmann. Nice pass by Ferdinand, picking him out in the left channel. Fine pass this, and Kretschmann had a really good sight of goal. He hit a powerful shot looking for the top left corner. Good stop by Dibble, acrobatically palming it behind for the corner. When the ball was swept in, well, there was a nervous moment in more ways than one. Dibble went up for the cross, the striker beat him to it and headed it into the net. The referee was quick to disallow it though. But the second concern then was that Dibble stayed down. It looked to be a head injury and had quite a long spell of treatment. Now, of course, Wrexham had nobody on the bench who was a goalkeeper. That didn't worry me all that much. 5 minutes left, 2-0 up. I felt we were capable of keeping Woking at arm's length. What did bother me is the reason we got no keeper on the bench is because we have no keeper. And we can't really bring any in. So I was more concerned about Saturday. If Dibble wasn't right and Lainton's not back yet, who would go in goal? Anyway, Dibble did recover anyway, and he would make one more important a couple of good interventions. The next moment of nervousness was Elliot Durrell's second peculiar incident. Wrexham defending on the edge of the area. A Woking man got goal side of Durrell, who clearly decided he was going to make the tackle anyway. I was worried. This was in the D. And I just thought, he's going to give away an unnecessary free kick here. I don't think he can make the challenge. Well, to be fair to him, he did manage to win the ball cleanly. The problem was then he was facing his own goal on the edge of his area and wasn't sure what to do. He tried to carry the ball out of danger by running straight into the heart of his penalty area, and things didn't get any better. Woking players were converging on him, and well, fair play, he managed to scramble it away, but it was a nervous and very peculiar little moment. As we went into the last minutes of the game, Kretschmann drove in another shot which was deflected, and again Dibble low to his left held on to it pretty comfortably. Then in added time, Dibble did really well. A free kick given right on the edge of the box. Cooper drilled it. It took a deflection again, and Dibble, who was going down to his left, but managed to raise his arm up a strong wrist and knock it clear. Great save by Dibble, and Wrexham had won the game. And despite that late pressure, to be fair, these shots were all coming in from around the edge of the area. We were keeping them out of the box. They weren't able to swing crosses into our area, and it was a pretty comfortable clean sheet in all honesty. Really good performance. Dibble did well, obviously, especially at the end when he was called upon and was dominant in the air. Across the back, look at the centre-backs first. Kelleher is just playing superbly at the moment. It so suits him being in the centre of the three. He just loves being in the fray when the high balls come in. He won so many good headers, won some really good tackles. That early tackle on Ferdinand was key. That could have made a difference if Woking had scored in the 20th minute. And yeah, Kelleher's been absolutely excellent. Either side of him, French looks a class act. He really coped well with high balls into the box. He drove forwards well. On one occasion he made a fantastic run, hit the byline and pulled in a cross. he's settling well, and you can see why Bradford City fans were unhappy when they let him go. And on the left-hand side, Mark Harrington was Mark Harrington. Actually, his passing was a tiny bit off compared to normal, but that is because I expect him to be pretty perfect with his use of the ball, in all honesty. I have high standards for Mark Harrington, which he has set himself. But defensively, he was good, and again, made some good challenges in the box. It's interesting, I remember us playing at Solihull Moors last season, and Carrington, who played centre-back in a 3 before, was getting exploited a bit by Danny Rice. He's been thrown into this position again without having had lots of injuries, and I sort of realised yesterday I no longer think of him as a makeshift stand-in centre-back. He can play that role. We know he's proficient and can do lots of different jobs on the pitch, but yeah, he has been reassuringly steady as a defender, and huge kudos to him for that. Moving forward, Hall Johnson, my man of the match, and we chose him as well as man of the match in the commentary, James Harrison and I. When he was getting forwards, he was causing problems. Wonderful assist again, 3rd game in a row he's had an assist, and he had no problems defensively. He was always an outball. In the second half, I thought maybe he was pushing on a bit too much, to be frank, when we were digging in at 2-0, but still, he was a threat, and we had an outball. Record on the left-hand side wasn't as prominent as he has been in recent games, but was totally rock solid and did put some good balls into the box as well. In midfield, Luke Young was a little more prominent than lately. He's been a little bit quietish lately, but he was clearly trying to set the tempo early on. Wrexham were trying to play early balls in behind Woking's defence, a tactic which I thought was working, and I thought we sort of forgot to do a bit as the half wore on, and in the second half we went back to it and we punished them. Yeah, Young was put a lot of tempting balls in, turning their defence, and as ever was extremely hard working. Jordan Davis, great all-round performance, great use of the ball, good tackling, and I know we always talk about what's his real position. Well, he looks a good midfielder to me in this match. And Jarvis, like I said, was very impressive, especially at the start of the second half. But his use of the ball, his judgments when to play the ball on, his movement and reading of the game when he's alongside players on a similar wavelength is impressive. And then up front, the Angus-Thomas partnership looks good. Angus's arrival really has massively increased our threat as an attacking team. His first touch and his awareness of what's going around him is very, very good, and his goal showed a real sort of predatory quality. He played very well, and Thomas too, especially growing into the game. Won plenty of headers despite the fact he was against 2 big centre-backs, but it's not just the headers, Thomas, and we're increasingly seeing that. He'll attack the 6-yard box, he'll carry the ball well, he'll run onto the ball with threat. And I was quite sad really that Ross pulled him down, because I wanted him to get a goal to reward his efforts, especially as if that Dover game doesn't count, he goes back down from 6 goals, which would be frustrating. Anyway, never mind that. A pleasing performance, and Wrexham are gelling and looking decent. 6 games unbeaten, that's not a guarantee of anything, but we certainly look a bit more settled than we have done previously this season, in a season when teams aren't looking settled. So promising signs. With the final score of Wrexham 2, Woking 0, I'm Mark Griffiths from the Wrexham AFC Media Team.